Well, a very, very happy Friday morning. Welcome to the John Kentera Show. Glad you could join me today. We have, as usual, on a Friday, we got a very big program. We're going to get into our Padres. I definitely have some thoughts on the Padres as they're holding their organizational meetings this week, trying to figure out what the hell went on this past year and why they got eliminated from the playoffs. Coming up right about 9:30, we're going to talk with John Maffei from the Union Tribune, get his thoughts on high school football. Week 8 of the high school football season tonight. A couple of great matchups that we're going to get into. And Jonathan Olivieri, as he does on Fridays, will join us and talk to us a little bit about the Aztecs going up to Mackey Stadium tomorrow night. Late game tomorrow night up in Nevada, taking on the Nevada Wolfpack. Aztecs trying to go to 5-1 and 2-0 in conference play. And of course, as always, we're going to get out to your questions and coach's crew. We got our coach's mailbag. So we got a lot of things going on today. I do want to make an announcement regarding the John Kentera Show. And nothing to be alarmed about. But after today, we are going to take a month off for a variety of reasons, personal reasons. We're going to take a month off. We will be back on Monday, November 10th. So if you'll mark that down, make sure you have your notifications on. We're going to be taking a month off. And then when we come back, we'll resume Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 9 a.m. So again, I toiled with this idea for a long period of time, talked with my wife about it, and we're going to take a month off. And I got to take care of some business, and then we'll be back at it. But there is one caveat to that. If something were to go down with the Padres, a big announcement from the Padres, we will have an emergency show. And that emergency show, by the way, could be at any time of day or night. Jonathan and I have already talked about this, and if something were to go down big with the Padres, not something minor, but something big, we're gonna be on the air almost immediately. So again, today will be our final show for a month. We will be back in on November 10th. It's a Monday, and we'll be ready to go strong through the holidays. We'll probably take a few days off over the holiday, but then in January, leading up to pitchers and catchers, the middle of February, we're going to be cranking. So no worries, everything's going to be fine. But I need to take a little time off for personal reasons, and we're going to get everything sorted out. I got some high school coverage. I'm doing a football game on the 30th. My old buddy Teddy Mendenhall. We're doing the La Costa Canyon Torrey Pines football game. I've got some college basketball games coming up and some other personal things that I have to attend to. But write it down. On November 10th, we will be back. I think I said November 30th for the football game. It's actually October 30th. I'm doing that football game on the La Costa Canyon stream. So if you want to tune in to a fun high school broadcast, you can tune that into the La Costa Canyon stream on October 30th. It's Thursday night, the night before Halloween. But I just wanted to make sure everyone knows everything's fine. I just need a little time off to handle some things, and then we'll be back at it. But again, we will have emergency shows if the Padres were to make some type of an announcement. Okay, and make sure you have those notifications on, folks. Okay, I've had a lot of people, and these guys are not going anywhere, but a lot of people have been asking me about Fernando and Manny's contracts. They're here forever. They're here forever. But I'll give you Fernando's contract, and then I'll give you Manny's contract, just so people know where we're at. And Xander Bogaerts is here for a long period of time. And Xander, he got a signing bonus when he signed 3 years ago with the Padres, but he makes $25 million a year, and that's every year, $25 million. It doesn't go up or go down; it's $25 million. But Fernando's contract when he signed it was 14 years, $340 million. It's from 2021 to 2034. He received a $10 million signing bonus. In 2021, he made $1 million. In 22, he made $5 million. 23, $7 million. 24, $4 million. This past year, he made $20 million. Next year, he'll make $20 million. And then it starts moving up. 27 and 28, he'll get $25 million apiece. And then from 29 to 34, he'll make $36 million annually. Now, people were talking, well, maybe you trade Fernando. Fernando's the one contract of the big guys you could trade because he's got a lot of value. Machado doesn't have value at 33 years of age. Bogarts doesn't have value at 33 years of age. But Fernando has value. But he may block all trades between now and 2028. So the earliest you could trade him without his consent would be 2029. And from 2029 to 2034, he may block trades to 13 clubs annually. So, he probably wanted to go to the big market teams if he were going to go to anywhere. I don't think he wants to go to the A's or Tampa Bay or the Angels. Maybe the Angels because Southern California. I don't know. Maybe he's not in love with Southern California. I don't know. But that's Fernando's contract. Now, Manny's deal. Remember when he could have opted out a year ago, and then the Padres, or 2 years ago, they could have, before 2023, they could have, he could have opted out. Well, Padres decided to invest more into Manny Machado, and he signed an 11-year, $350 million deal. Now, check this one out. He got a $45 million signing bonus. $10 million on December 1st of 2023. I've done my homework on this. $5 million each in every December 1st between 2027 and 2033. So he gets a $5 million Christmas gift between 2027 and 2033. And from 23 to 25, he makes 13 million annuals. So he made 13 million this year. Next year it goes up to 21 million, and then from 27 to 2033, he will make $35 million per season. So between Fernando, Manny, and Bogarts here in a few years, when we get to 2029, that's going to be in the neighborhood of like $76 million between those three guys each and every year. So, or no, excuse me, that's not correct. It'll be about $86 million a year between three guys. So I wanted to bring that up because people were asking me a lot the other day about Fernando and Manny's contract. Okay, now let's get to the big mystery. This seems to be the ongoing talk with the Padres in their meetings this week. And like I said on when I would love to be that guy in the corner just listening. The big mystery, why did the Padres get eliminated early? Well, I think it's very simple. They weren't good enough. They weren't good enough against the Cubs. And, I was asked yesterday by Fletch and Sammy on San Diego Sports 760, why did the Padres get eliminated early? They weren't good enough. It was that simple. They were 28th in home runs, so not a lot of power. And we'll get into their hitting philosophy here in a minute. They were 18th in runs scored. They had iffy starting pitching most of the year. Guys hurt, guys ineffective, bringing guys up, sending guys down. Bullpen was fantastic. Bullpen got worked hard, very, very hard. We can't expect all those guys coming back next year in the bullpen to be as good next year as they were this year. Because a lot of times when you've been worked, the following year, man, it starts showing up. So we got to be conscious of that. But let's be honest here. Okay, let's be honest, fans. The Dodgers are better than the Padres. The Philadelphia Phillies are a damn good team. That was a hell of a series. Even though the Dodgers won that series 3-1, that was a hell of a series. And man, Schwarber and Harper and Bohm and Trey Turner, Brandon, those guys are damn good players. They're winning players. And they got to be just agonizing today because this was probably their year with the pitching staff they had. They're a damn good ball club. I thought they were as good a team as there was in baseball, Philadelphia. Dodgers found a way to get it done. I mean, they went in, and you got to give the Dodgers credit, man. They went into Philadelphia, a place that's very, very difficult to play for a variety of reasons, and they took 2 games. They got beat up the other night. Kershaw, that was sad the other night. I got to be honest with you. That was sad to watch. Probably Clayton Kershaw's final time on a Dodger Stadium mound. Maybe he'll pitch the next series. I don't know, but man, that was rough to watch. And then yesterday, tough game. I mean, Phillies obviously, they made the error, cost them the game. Kerkering not able to get that little comebacker. And that, let me tell you something. Those comebackers, as easy as they look, can be very difficult. First of all, a lot of times when the ball comes back at you, you think it's hit harder than it is. And then it also has a lot of spin on it. And he just panicked. he definitely panicked. And Hyun Kim, by the way, missed the plate, had to go back and touch the plate. But Dodgers won. They played better yesterday. Their pitching was unbelievable. Roki Sasaki, unbelievable. 3 shutout innings. I mean, that guy's a stud, absolute stud. The kid from Alpine, Vesia, tough, man. The Dodgers pitched great. Sheehan gave up the 1 run. Philadelphia got out hit yesterday 7-4, and they made 2 errors. That second error cost them the ball game. That was a hell of a baseball game. But the Dodgers and Phillies, for me, are the 2 best teams. Milwaukee's had an incredible year. And now they're going down to the 5th game against Chicago. Chicago's battled back, and Chicago got rid of the Padres. And Milwaukee, I think, is better than Chicago, but they're going to have to prove it on the field tomorrow night. I mean, really, the only playoff team that I think the Padres were better than was Cincinnati. And I think we got to be completely honest. The Padres have some flaws in this ball club. Part of their flaws they fixed when they got Freddie Fermin. I mean, the catching, they got nothing offensively out of their catching until Freddie Fermin showed up. Arise, we know, is a good hitter, but not a power guy. Cronenworth needs to rework his entire swing for me. Hit down on the baseball a little bit rather than trying to lift everything with that front elbow up. And Bogaerts is not the power guy he once was with Boston. We got to face fact. Manny's good for 27 to 30 homers a year. And he'll probably be like that for a few more years. Left field, Laureano's going to give him a little pop next year. Gavin Sheets did a good job. Merrill was in and out of the lineup 3 times on the IL this year. And Fernando, 25 homers. But I think you and I would agree that was a little bit of a disappointment. So the power wasn't there. I mean, if Merrill's in there the entire year, maybe he hits 25 home runs. But, you know, the days of Xander Bogaerts hitting 23 home runs, I think, have come and gone. I would be happy if he hit 15 to 17. But, you know, just Father Time catches up with all of us. But the reason the Padres were eliminated early, they weren't good enough. They got a lot of things they got to work on. Does anybody disagree with me on that? I mean, the Dodgers and Phillies, to me, are by far the 2 best teams. I don't necessarily care about the regular season of who had more wins. Those 2 teams are dynamite. And those 2 teams aren't going away. Now, I know that, you know, Real Muto and Schwarber are free agents. They may end up back there. I don't know. But, man, that Phillies team, I like watching them play. They're a bunch of grinders. They're tough, hard-nosed dudes. And they got eliminated by a heck of a ball club. So that's the answer. The Padres weren't good enough. Okay, now, Kevin Acee has been reporting from his sources. I don't know who his sources are, but Mike Shildt's coming back. And to me, that's not a big surprise. Mike Shildt's got 2 years to go. Last year, they won 93 games. They gave him a 2-year contract extension because originally he had a 2-year deal that would have run out at the end of this year. They gave him a 2-year deal, so he's here to 2027. And you can say whatever you want about Shildt. He's won 93 in 90 games. And you all know I'm not the biggest Mike Shildt fan in the world. But you know what? Guys won baseball games. And some teams are good in the regular season and not good in the postseason. Some are like the Dodgers. They kind of sleptwalk through the regular season. And now all of a sudden they're playing really good baseball. So every team's a little bit different. But the Padres have won a lot of games each of the last 2 years and gotten to the playoffs for the first time back-to-back years in franchise history. That's pretty doggone good. I'm happy with that, but it was a very frustrating team to watch night in and night out. It really was. And a lot of it had to do with Fernando and Manny sometimes wondering if those guys were really engaged in what the hell was going on. And let's face it, they talk about leadership. Fernando's not a leader, okay? Let's put that to the side. I'm not sure Manny's a leader. But you know what? Not everybody is a leader. I don't know who the leader is. To me, the guys that would be the leaders would be Bogaerts and Arise. And I don't know if Arise will be coming back. I kind of tend to doubt he's coming back. But anyways, Shilt's supposed to be coming back. And then the other one, and the one I've been yelling about for weeks, what are you going to do with A.J. Preller? And Kevin Acee in the paper yesterday said that his sources are saying they're working on a contract extension that could be announced this month for A.J. Preller. But It said sources have cautioned that the parties still have to discuss the terms and parameters of an extension, and importantly, in terms of day-to-day operation. Now, what does that mean? In terms of day-to-day operation, I mean, AJ Preller's been here for a decade. And you know what? Some people like AJ, some don't like AJ. He's gotten his team to the playoffs 4 of the last 6 years. Got to the NLCS in 2022. Okay, his teams are consistently vying for playoff spots right now. Now, what is that? The parameters of day-to-day operation? Do they want him to be locked and chained to an office? That's not AJ Preller. AJ Preller's going to move around, going to travel with the team. He likes to go down in the minor leagues. He likes to go out and scout. You'll see him, at the Boris tournament up at J. Sarah High School. You'll see him, at Granite Hills High School. You'll see him at USD. I mean, he's out and about. Hey, he's a scout. At heart, he is a scout. And I know they probably want him to be in the office and, make sure that, everybody's doing what they're supposed to do. AJ's got good assistants. And I don't know who all of his assistants are, but I know one of them very well, Josh Stein. He went to La Jolla High School. He's a top-notch guy. I'm not really sure why Josh is still here. I thought he would go out and be a GM for another organization. Maybe he will be. I don't know. But Josh Stein's a good baseball man. He worked his tail off. Been with the Padres over 20 years. Kevin Towers hired him. And he's a good baseball guy. But to me, if they're going to try to put the handcuffs on AJ Preller, now I think they've already put the handcuffs on him as far as, going out and signing, big money guys. I still expect this payroll to be over 200 million. It was reported about 211. The best I could make was about 211 this year. I saw another one at 209, but hey, when you're talking about million, 1 or 2 million doesn't really make a difference, but they've got a lot of money on the books for next year. Now, there are going to be some guys that don't come back, and you have to pay some guys buyouts. You also have to take some of your arbitration eligible guys and give them a little bit of a bump. And I would imagine a guy like Adrian Morejon is going to get a nice little bump. He's one of many, quite frankly. When you have a good ball club, you're going to have to pay a little bit more. But the Padres are making money. They got to be making money down there. I mean, they're jamming Gallagher Square. When I look at the attendance, they set the franchise attendance record, and they're asking a lot of money to go to Petco Park, let alone go to Gallagher Square. I mean, Gallagher Square, it's amazing people would pay that kind of money to basically watch the game on the Diamond Vision board out there in the park. But it's a great festive atmosphere, no question about it. But when I go to a ball game, I like to have a seat and actually watch the game inside. But they're jamming people, and they got to be making money. Okay, on parking, concessions, souvenirs, they got to be making money. Okay, and I know their TV contract's not very good, and probably not going to be very good again next year. We'll wait and see on that. But as far as AJ Preller, you either sign him and let the man do his job, or let him go. And you know what? If they try to put the handcuffs on AJ may just say, you know what? I've been here. I've taken this organization as far as I can take it, and I've got to look for greener pastures. I think AJ Preller would get another job very, very quickly. A good baseball guy. Good baseball guy. Evaluates talent, has hired some really good people that are out there in his eyes and ears at other ball games. So, I want to see him stay here. And like I've said before, I like AJ a lot. I like him a lot. And at the end of the day, if you're going to bring the man back and give him a contract, you got to let him run the show. Let him do his thing. Eric Grupner does the thing on the business side, and AJ Preller's got to be able to do his job on the baseball side. If you don't like what he's doing, let him go. Give him a year's salary and thank him for the memories. But you can't put handcuffs on this guy. Let him do his job. It seems like to me the last several years done a pretty good job. I mean, what he pulled off at the trading deadline this year was amazing. Absolutely amazing. And not only did he pull it off, a lot of those guys are coming back. Mason Miller coming back. Ramon Laureano pick up a $6.5 million option for next year. He's coming back. Freddie Fermin's under control for about 3 more years. You got a starting catcher, a starting left fielder, and one of the best bullpen guys in baseball. And no, I don't want to see him become a starting pitcher. That was another question I was asked yesterday with Fletch and Sammy. Do I think I'd like to see him be a starting pitcher? No, a guy throwing 104 miles an hour, 103 miles an hour, he'd blow out trying to go 5 innings a night. There's no reason. Leave him where he's at. Leave him where he's at. I don't want to see that. I see nothing but disaster written all over that one. Okay, and the last thing I want to get to, and then we're going to get out to your questions. We got John Maffei coming up. Article yesterday saying several in the organization believe it's imperative that the Padres examine their hitting philosophy, the gap-to-gap approach. That's a great approach. The gap-to-gap approach is you know why? Because it makes you stay on the baseball. You don't get pull happy. Okay, there's certain guys that can pull the ball with authority, but I want a lineup of guys that are good, solid, fundamental hitters. And if you hit the ball well enough, it's going to go. Okay, the Padres only have a few guys that are really home run threats. Tatis, Merrill, Machado, Cronenworth isn't. Cronenworth hit 11 home runs. That's not a home run threat. Arise, what he hit? 8 home runs? Not a home run threat. Freddie Fermin, not a home run threat. Ramon Laureano had a great year. What did he end up with? 24 dingers? But he's not normally a big home run guy. So you got to know who your players are. And I am so tired of people taking shots at Victor Rodriguez. I don't know Victor Rodriguez from a can of paint, and he don't know me. He may have listened to me on the radio, but I know this guy's background. I know the guys that he has worked with. I know the success he has had. It ain't about Victor Rodriguez. It's not about Victor Rodriguez. It's about the players. Once you step in that batter's box, you better have a plan. And I'm not sure some of the hitters really have a plan. We know Arise has a plan. He's aggressively passive. He's going to be aggressive. And I remember once upon a time, back around 2010, the Padres had this philosophy of what I call passive aggressive. Every pitch that's thrown, you got to be ready to hit. But they were looking to walk. They were looking to work the count. Well, I got news for you. I'm not sure the Padres have many guys right now on this roster that have the ability to really work the count and be good two-strike hitters. You got to be aggressively passive, not passive aggressive. And if you got a good leadoff guy, the old prototypical leadoff guy that could see 6, 7, 8 pitches, foul balls off, work the count. And then he had a good number 2 guy that could hit the ball to the right side, get that guy to first and third, or move that guy over to third base with less than 2 outs. Okay, that's the old school lineup. But the gap to gap, there are more hits, I got news for you, in the middle of the field than there are anywhere else. Work the middle of the diamond. When I work with young hitters and they're struggling, I say, hey, you keep pulling the ball to the third baseman or shortstop, work the ball up the middle. Work the gaps. Padres, if that's what Victor Rodriguez's approach is, gap to gap, then you know what? Give him a contract extension. He knows what he's doing. He knows what he's doing. I don't know if Victor Rodriguez is going to be able to get through to Fernando Tatis Jr. because Fernando Tatis is going to listen to what his dad says. Okay? Well, his dad's not with him day in and day out. He may look at tape, but he's not with Fernando. He doesn't know what Fernando's going through. Victor Rodriguez could help Fernando a great deal. You think Manny's listening to Victor Rodriguez? Manny's probably just going out there and playing. That's the kind of player, to me, he is. He's just a guy that's going to go out there and play. So the gap-to-gap approach is a good approach, but be aggressively passive, not passive-aggressive. And, the other thing, go get a couple of guys that can hit. We got guys that are okay. Cronenworth's a disaster. He needs to rework his swing. His swing is awful. I mean, awful. I mean, he gets doubles down the line by accident because he's so late. I mean, how do you hit with your elbow up in the air like this and your bat's going like this? I mean, I watch him. It's painful. he continues to go backwards. Hit down on the baseball. Hit line drive. If you're a left-hand hitter and you're in a slump, work on flattening your swing out and hitting hard line drives right at the second baseman. And if you're a right-hand hitter, work on hitting line drives at the shortstop during BP. Get that barrel through the hitting area. Cronenworth can't get the ball early. Everything's late on him. And every once in a while, he'll swing earlier, he'll guess right, and he'll get the bat out there. But, man, his whole swing needs to be reworked for me. Bogarts just doesn't have the power he once had. And when he does hit home runs, they're normally right down the line. He doesn't hit too many balls in 375 or 380 over the left field wall. So that's me. Okay, let's get to a few questions here. Sure, everybody's got a lot of questions. I try to bring some topics to you each and every day. Okay, what do we got here? Coach's crew. If you told me at the beginning of the season that the Padres would win 90 games, I'd be surprised that they did. It was Cease on a down year, King, Darvish, Cronenworth, Merrill, down for big chunks of time. Yeah, I think not that we're going to hold a parade for 90 wins, but it's a good year, man. You win 90 games, you win 18 more than you lose in Major League Baseball. That's a pretty doggone good year, but disappointing. The Cubs are a beatable team, but you know what? The Cubs are better. Their big guys show up. Our guys didn't show up. That's simple. But I agree with you. 90 wins, pretty good. Pretty good. No question. And I'll tell you this, and I said it last week, I think at the end of the week, last Friday's show after they'd gotten eliminated. They got to be careful. They got to be very, very careful what goes on here. Because the Giants are going to continue to get better. The Giants are not going to be up there in the Bay Area allowing the Padres and the Diamondbacks and Dodgers to kick sand in their face year after year. They're getting a little frustrated up there. And I think they're going to open their pocketbooks up even more this offseason than they did a year ago. So, I mean, in Arizona, they got some dudes that play hard. I mean, Ketel Marte, Corbin Carroll. I mean, they got some nice guys on that Arizona team. I enjoy watching play at Perdomo, that shortstop. Yeah, he's a real leader. I mean, everybody talks about what a great leader he is. But thank you very much for that. Very much appreciate that. Okay, what else we got this morning? O2RR. Hello, Coach. 41 years ago today, Kurt Bavacqua went 3 for 4 with a homer and 3 RBIs. The Padres won Game 2 of the 1984 World Series. Thank you for always enjoying Padre history with us. Hey, they won that ball game 5-3. Bavacqua hit that big home run and he paraded around the bases. Gotten to know Kurt pretty well over the years. His boy, a real good ball player up at La Costa Canyon. Sat at a few ball games with him, spent time with him down around the batting cage at Petco Park. Always enjoyed Kurt Bavacqua. And not only did the Padres win that game too, that's the only World Series game they've ever won. They've been to 2 World Series. They're 1-8. But you know what? Kind of stinks because that Detroit team was so good. And the team that they played in 1998, I think, is one of the best teams of all time with the Yankees. I really do. That was one heck of a team. And one of the guys that wasn't even a big name guy, Scott Brocious, was one of the big stars on that Yankee team in 98. But good stuff. I remember that home run and Kurt jumping around and doing a little pirouette going to first base. Good stuff. And still a very active member of the San Diego community, Kurt Bavacqua. Thank you very much, O2RR. I always appreciate you bringing in some Padre history to me. The Red Devil NC. We will find out how good Preller is in 2026. No farm guys left to trade for rentals who don't want to be here. Here's the deal. Every year, people talk about, well, Preller didn't do this or Preller didn't do that. Preller traded all these guys. He's got nobody to trade. But how a lot of organizations look, they may not have anything, and they'll take what the Padres have. I mean, they gave up DeVries this year, and that was tough. There's no question about it. But that kid's playing high A ball. You're trying to win now. And face it, AJ's trying to get a contract extension, and I totally get that from his point. But we'll see. Next year, the other thing that factors in, the ownership. Are they going to allow him to be aggressive? I don't think so. And they got a lot of work to do. I mean, Musgrove will be coming back, but he's not going to be throwing 200 innings next year. They're going to have him on an innings limit. Darvish, we don't know his stat. He may retire. We'll have to wait and see. King, I don't expect him back. He'll opt out of that $15 million deal, take a $3.5 million buyout, and then go out to the highest bidder. Cease won't be back. Kyle Hart, they got a $5 million option on him. I think they're going to decline that. Even though I thought Kyle Hart got a little bit better. But I don't know if I want to go the direction of giving him $5 million and have him spend, part of the year in AAA. Randy Vasquez will be back, did a nice job. Pavetta will be back for a few more years. We'll see. Going to be interesting. It's always interesting. It's always interesting. Okay, let's get one more, and then we're going to get to John Maffei. Steve Tejas, hi, Coach. I think we went wrong in giving too many players long-term contracts. We should have signed them for 4 years, not 8 to 10 years. This way, we would have options like trading Crony. Well, Crony, you could maybe trade him. You might have to package him with somebody. But these contracts haven't even begun to choke the Padre organization. I mean, Manny and Bogarts are 33 years of age. How are these guys going to look at 38, 39, and 40? Which guy's going to be playing first base? Which guy's going to be the designated hitter? I mean, seriously, your whole left side of the infield, they're going to be 38, 39, and 40 when their contracts are up. They're going to be 40 years of age. Wow, that's amazing. And the next year, they'll be able to play the old-timers game probably. That's what I got for you, Steve. Thank you very much. Okay, let's get out to John Maffei. He's always shuffling his papers. Oh, he got so much to do tonight. Oh, my God. This guy, as hard as this guy works, the one benefit that he has is he always gets to go to great high school football games. He doesn't go to run-of-the-mill high school football games. Last Friday night, he saw an incredible football game, won by Mission Hills by 1 point. Tonight, he's going to be out at another key game, Carlsbad taking on Mission Hills. And Mr. Maffei, how are you today?
I'm doing very well, John. How are you?
I'm very glad to have you today. Week 8 of the high school football season. Now it's starting to get down to the brass tacks. We're getting into league play. And talk a little bit about that game last Friday night between La Costa Canyon and Mission Hills. It was over at Mission Hills. It came down to the 2-point conversion attempt with about 30 seconds to go for La Costa Canyon, and they came up short.
Yeah, it was a game. Both teams scored on every possession, except for La Costa at the end of the half. So you don't really count that, but every team scored on each possession. There were no punts. There were only 4 penalties in the whole game. It was just a really good back and forth high school football game, and the quarterbacks in that game were just incredible. And it came down to the 2-pointer. Why La Costa Canyon put the ball on the short side of the field and ran a wide receiver pass, a trick play when you have the best player on the field and don't put the ball in his hands. I don't know. And I have a incredible respect for Sean Sovacool at La Costa, but that was a head scratcher on the 2-pointer.
Well, let's talk about the 2 quarterbacks. Let's talk about Troy Hune, who's going to Penn State. Now, maybe I would have to say that probably the highlight of the weekend for James Franklin coming to Southern California was to come down and see a guy that's going to sign with him during the early signing period, Troy Hune, because the following afternoon at the Rose Bowl, it didn't go very well for Coach Franklin.
So Friday was a lot better than Saturday for Coach Franklin, but Troy Hune was 19 of 21 in that game and completed his last 13 passes.
Wow.
And so he's going to go into Friday night tonight with 13 in a row. And he goes up against Eli McNeil tonight from Carlsbad, and Eli McNeil is committed to Cornell. So you have 2 college quarterbacks on the field tonight, and I expect the same kind of game as last week. I think it's going to be back and forth, and we'll see if anybody punts tonight.
John, let's go back. Give me your thoughts on Quinn Roth last week.
Quinn Roth, he started kind of slow. He was a little wobbly at first, but they ran the ball really well. And then the second half, probably early in the second quarter, he started to warm up, and he can play somewhere. Where that is, I don't know, but talking to Jose Moeller, the quarterback guru, Jose said, definitely Quinn Roth can play somewhere.
Well, La Costa Canyon, they got another tough one tonight, and we'll talk about that in a minute. They got San Marcos, but let's talk about the matchup tonight. Carlsbad going against Mission Hills. That game's at Carlsbad, right?
No, it's at Mission
Oh,
Hills.
at Mission Hills. Okay. Well, I think that definitely gives Mission Hills a little bit of an advantage. Having to play at Carlsbad is very difficult. They have like the entire town show up.
Oh yeah, and it's raucous at Carlsbad, so it's a little bit of a home field advantage to be at Mission Hills this year. But Carlsbad will show up. La Costa Canyon fans showed up. There's a big visitor side at Mission Hills, and they did a night. They almost filled that visitor side, and I would think Carlsbad's going to do pretty close to the same thing.
Who you like tonight?
I'm taking Mission Hills. I think they're on a roll. I think they're rallying around this new coaching staff. I'm very impressed with the job they've done. I think it's going to be close, but I think they get them.
John, I know people are waiting for me to ask you this question, and I've already kind of done my due diligence on this. It really sounds like there's nothing new regarding Chris Hauser and his two assistants that were suspended a few weeks back, and it really doesn't sound like anything's going to happen anytime soon, is there?
I don't. I'm hearing. I heard last week, and I bounced around last week and talked to as many people as I could. Trying to get information in. And they're just a ton of rumors. Nobody knows anything for sure. But I think it's criminal that the school board, the school district, is leaving these three gentlemen out there to swing. Make a decision and let them get on with their. You can't do that. The longer it goes, the more guilty they are. And I don't know if they're guilty or not, or what they're guilty of. But make a decision. And if they've already been suspended for 4 weeks now, and that's a lot. And bring them, either bring them back or let them go, but make a decision.
Yeah, you would think it'd be in a situation like this, you would think it'd be more black and white.
Yes. I mean, what are they looking at? I mean, what are they examining? And and I know there are a lot of things going on in the school district, and this is one of them. This is one of the things. But there are some athletics people in that district. Get it done. And Chris Hauser deserves better than this. Chris is a good man, and he's a great coach. And Thomas Altieri is as good a guy as there is. And Eddie Knuckles is a fine young man. Give these guys some closure and let them know.
Yeah, absolutely. But as you mentioned, DJ Zapata, who used to be the athletic director, now has taken over as the interim head coach, and it seems like the kids are definitely rallying around this new coaching group.
Yes, and I talked to one of the assistants last week before the game, and he said their biggest fear as a staff was that the kids would give up. They had no question that the staff was together and that Chris had taught them well and Thomas had taught them well. And they rallied and they know what to do. Their biggest fear was that the kids would go, oh, Coach Hauser isn't here. Thomas isn't here. We aren't going to be coached. He said the first meeting they had, the kids went, Coach, what do we do? Where do we go? And the kids were in it 100%.
Well, that matchup last week that Mission Hills won by 1 point over La Costa Canyon, we may see that matchup again in the open division. I think both of those schools are worthy of being in the open division. But again, you got to win a few more football games.
Oh yeah, it's gonna, and that league is crazy. You still have to play. You still have to play Carlsbad. La Costa Canyon, El Camino. El Camino's record isn't very good, but they can certainly jump up and bite you. So that Ava West and the Western League are are by far the two best leagues in the county, and it's going to be a fight down to the end.
John, let's stay in North County for another game here. You got number 7 San Marcos 5-1, playing their first league game. La Costa 5-1. They're 0-1 in league. What do you like in this game, player wise, and who you got winning this tonight?
That's going to be a great game. I think San Marcos isn't as athletic as they were last year, but they're still very good. Creep Makahili, the quarterback, is he's undersized, but he is a really good high school quarterback. And Zamar Reese, their running back, is among the top 2 or 3 players in the county. He's got 890 yards rushing and 260 yards receiving. The guy can get it done. And La Costa, it'll be interesting to see how they rebound from a really tough loss. They can't afford to lose again. So this is going to be, the pressure is really on them to get it done tonight. And I think they're a little bit more athletic than San Marcos.
A game in the city, you got number 2 Cathedral. They got beat up pretty good last week on the road against the great program Concord de La Salle. They also lost their quarterback, Brady Palmer, and they're going to go on the road. And Cathedral right now is 5-1. They're going down to take on Point Loma. And I think Point Loma's been a little bit of a surprise this year. They're 6-0, and they run a 2-quarterback operation down there. What do you think? Because Brady Palmer ain't playing tonight.
No, and I gotta think, Cathedral. My guess is that Cathedral and Brady is not out for long term. My understanding is it's 2 weeks, so they will get him back. But I think Cathedral kind of lines up tonight behind that big offensive line and just pounds the rock. And and they've got some guys to do it. Willie Flores is a nice high school running back. They'll try to get the ball in Honor Falave's hands, and whether it's reverses or short passes, screens, that kind of thing. But I can't see them going down the field much. But I think they overpower Point Loma.
All right, out at the Old Valley Stadium tonight, you got a good one. You got number 9 Mount Miguel 5-2 playing their first league game, going against number 6 Granite Hills, who's 3-3. They've played a tough schedule. They're playing their first league game. This could be a real great showdown in East County tonight.
Oh, it's one of the better games in the county tonight, and I think that's going to be a real shootout. That Mount Miguel has one of the better players in the county in Brandon Arrington, but Granite Hills junior quarterback Zach Benitez is having a really nice year. He's already thrown for 1,900 yards. And they've got some other weapons. They don't have the great running back like they had last year in Max Turner. And I think that's why they're 3-3 instead of 6-0 is because Max isn't there. But they have a great quarterback. They have 4 really good receivers. And I think this could go down to the wire, but I'm taking Granite in this one. Like you said, the home field advantage. It's at Granite Hills, and I like Granite in this one.
John, I want to ask you, because in the open division they have 4 teams, and I read, I think you wrote it a few weeks back about maybe expanding the open division, and for a long period of time, 4 was enough. There was no doubt. You knew who the top 4 teams were in the county, but I'm looking at this year. I mean, obviously Cathedral Catholic and Lincoln should be open division teams. And then you got Carlsbad, you got Mission Hills, you got La Costa. I mean, there's 5 right there. They're right off the top that should be in the open division. No thoughts about that not being in the open. That's going to come down very tight, I would imagine, this year.
Yes, you throw Granite Hills and Mount Miguel in there too, and Sean Doyle, the coach at Cathedral, was the one who he thought this is the year maybe they go to 8. I don't know if there's 8 teams. I think there's 7. And I said
San Marcos. San
Marcos is right there. But it came up last year, at the postseason football meeting, and Joe Hines, the commissioner, let me sit in on that. And a meeting that normally takes 45 minutes took 4 hours, and they went round and round on this. And it came up, the 8 teams in the open, and the coaches, well, if that happens, then 4 of our best teams are out of the playoffs, before anybody else even starts, because of the more compact bracket with only 8 teams. So they said, well, what if you drop the losers down into Division One, and they took the bye. There's 12 teams with 4 byes in Division One, and plugged them into the bye slots, and there was just a ton of discussion, and it ultimately they didn't do it, but it was very interesting, hearing coaches go round and round, and in the smaller schools, trying to protect themselves, in the bigger schools, kind of like in the 4-team format where they get a couple of weeks off.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, that they would have 8 teams, and whoever lost their first round game would actually drop down to Division One the following week.
Would drop down to, because the argument there was four of our best teams are out before anybody else plays.
Yeah, if I was coach in Division One, I'd be pretty upset about that.
Well, and that's some of the Division One coaches were kind of going, I don't know about that. Nobody was viewing there wasn't any chairs being thrown or F-bombs being dropped, but it was a very interesting, very lively meeting, a lot of discussion, and like I said, it went for a long time, and finally Joe Hines, the commissioner, kind of went, gentlemen, we got to wrap this up, and they came back a few weeks later and finished their meeting, because they didn't get it done in 4 hours.
I would just say, last year, there were some good teams last year, but we kind of knew who the top 4 were. There have been years where there've only been 4, quite frankly.
Yes.
And if you'd have put in another 4, there'd have been some blowouts, and, you're just kind of taking up space more than anything else. This year, though, I think it's a legitimate year if they wanted to go to 8. I think it could work this year, but next year might be a whole different thing.
Yes, and that was kind of, Commissioner Hines was kind of, saying, can we do this? He kind of likes it locked in. We're a 4-team format, we're an 8-team format, we're a 6-team format, but we can't change on the fly, and that's not fair to everybody else down the line. And so although he doesn't really have a vote in the football advisory meeting, his feeling is that he would rather stay with 4, and then everybody else gets locked into their divisions.
All right. Well, John, good luck tonight. Hopefully, I'm hoping that rain holds off. I'm going to the Torrey Poway game. We got 10 family members. It's the oldest granddaughter's 17th birthday, Connor. So 10 of us are going to the game tonight.
Well, happy birthday to her, and stay dry. I'll be in the press box, but it's hard to go down to the field after the game and write on wet paper. So I'm hoping it stays dry too.
Hey, be well. Have a great weekend, and thanks as always for the time.
Great, thank you.
There you go, John Maffei from the Union Tribune, and John will pick up with us again. If you just tuned in late, today's our last show until November 10th. We're taking a month off, personal reasons, have to take care of some business, and we'll be back on Monday, November 10th. So we'll get to John that Friday, but always good stuff. Okay, we're going to get to Coach's mailbag here shortly, but right now, as we do each and every Friday, and he also has to tell us about the card show tomorrow, is our man Jonathan Olivieri going to give us a little preview of the Aztecs going on the road to Mackey Stadium tomorrow night up in Reno. My dad played in Nevada and boxed. Not only did he play football there, he also boxed there as an AAU champion. And Jonathan, the Wolfpack have had a tough start to their year, but last week they showed some things in that second half against Fresno State. And they ended up, we're down 17-3. Ended up getting beat 20-17, but they came out of there feeling like they made some progress, I think, last week.
Yeah, they were down, like you mentioned, 23 at halftime. They brought in their freshman quarterback, Carter Jones. He ended up rallying them almost to a comeback win. He went 11 for 15 for 121 yards and 2 touchdowns. So, yeah, they definitely walked away from that game feeling a little bit better than they probably would have had they not put him in. You know, you never know if they would have even scored another touchdown. It didn't look like it was going to happen in the first half. So, yeah, he'll be getting his first start this week against SDSU at home, as that game was against Fresno. So it should be a good test for SDSU. They're undefeated, 1-0 in conference play, and they're going to be playing a physical team. Their rushers on defense for the Wolfpack are very good. They're going to be getting after Denegal. So, it's going to be very important to protect him and allow him to go through his progressions and make smart throws and not turn the ball over.
A couple of things off of that win last week against Colorado State, and I got to start with Denegal. I thought he, number one, he threw the long ball very, very well. He had the one long touchdown to Donovan Brown. He had two other long throws. One went for a touchdown to Jordan Napier, but he looked great. Not only did he throw the long ball well, they ran a lot of slant patterns, and I would imagine Reno's going to try to take away some of those slants, but he really threw those slants over the last Saturday night. He threw them with a lot of confidence, something I hadn't seen to that point.
Yeah, you're right. That game, he really showed off his versatility as a passer, not only hitting the deep throws, but like you mentioned, hitting those slants accurately and efficiently throughout the night. So, yeah, it'll be interesting to see what Nevada does to try and take that away. Whether it's showing blitzes from these linebackers and then dropping them back into coverage to sort of throw that off. But yeah, they're definitely going to be getting after him. They have a very good edge rusher in Jonathan Maldonado. He's kind of their team's Trey White, if you would say. But he has 3.5 sacks already this season and an interception. So I think what they need to do is slow down this rush, maybe by running it right at them with Lucky Sutton, and sort of see, kind of set the tone early with the offensive line and physicality, and then see what that sets up for them in the passing game. And then at that point, just sort of take advantage of what they give you and move the ball down the field.
Well, the Aztec offense last Saturday night against Colorado State, 540 total yards. And you mentioned Lucky Sutton, he had 113, but Byron Cardwell, who quite frankly has been the number 3 back between Sutton and Christian Washington, he led the team in rushing. He had just under 140 yards rushing last week. And to me, Lucky Sutton's more of an inside guy, in between the tackles, where Washington's got the speed to get outside. But Cardwell has got a combination of both. He runs well inside, but he's also got the speed to get outside. So Coach Lewis has got 3 backs, and they're all a little bit different, kind of a change up. And it'll be interesting to see how much work Cardwell gets this week, because he hadn't been getting a whole lot of carries until last week.
Yeah, and then like you mentioned, he really sort of took off in that second half. I don't know if it was Colorado State just sort of giving up, or he was really doing that good, or a combination of both. But yeah, like you mentioned, he's that right in between of Washington and Sutton, where Washington is very shifty when he runs between the tackles, and he's able to make moves and be elusive. And then Byron is that power back, but he can also make those cuts, get it outside and take it upfield. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see. I mean, it's a good problem to have, having 3 running backs like that you can just use in different ways to sort of exploit the defense.
You mentioned Trey White, and I listened to the post-game show on San Diego Sports 760. Fletch was doing the post-game show, and I heard Denegal talk, and I heard Trey White talk, and Trey White got his first 2 sacks of the year. Now, here's a guy that, came back this year. I'm sure he had a lot of NIL offers. Local kid from East Lake, decided to come back. Probably was a little frustrated, hadn't gotten to the quarterback, had a lot of hurries, getting double teamed. It freed up his teammates to make plays. But the other night he got loose, had 2 quarterback sacks, and that'll get him going a little bit. But he also, I really liked what he had to say. He talked about how, the way they're blocking me, it's freeing guys, other guys, the other defensive end, along with the defensive tackle. So, even though his stats may not be gaudy at this point, he's still affecting the game.
Oh yeah, yeah, definitely. I mean, you see it at all levels. Even like, I mean, the Rams with Aaron Donald is a perfect example where you see these images where he's getting blocked by three players, and yeah, these guys may have a breakout year one year like Trey White had, and then the next year you start to see that slow down a little bit, and it's not that anything that they're lacking. It's just what teams are doing. Now they're going, holy cow, like this guy can get after the quarterback, let's double team him here. And then that opens it up for his other teammates to go in there and get sacks. And we've seen that this year where his production has slowed down a little bit. But yeah, he's freed it up for his teammates to get in there and get after the quarterback. And the defense has been able to produce in that factor.
I just got to read this because I want fans. A year ago, the Aztecs used to get like 2 NFL scouts showing up. And I don't know if they were watching the other team or the Aztecs, but the other night I always check, like the
Peek
media
around.
where they put where you're sitting and all that.
Yeah,
And of
yeah.
course, you're down in the high rent district. You're in that first row down there, rubbing elbows with all the big boys, and I'm up in the second row. But actually, I was in the first row this week. But last week at the Aztec game, they had the LA Chargers, the Green Bay Packers, Denver Broncos, Minnesota Vikings, Buffalo Bills, Dallas Cowboys, Miami Dolphins, Washington Commanders. They had scouts at that game. And then they also had the National Scouting Combine that sends out reports to all NFL teams. So, with the secondary, the Aztecs have Trey White. They've got some offensive linemen that are going to get looked at. I mean, San Diego State, their talent level's starting to move up.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. And then the secondary, like you mentioned, Chris Johnson, he's the highest rated cornerback in the nation right now, according to Pro Football Focus. I think he's 90.4 rating. So he's having a great year. So, yeah, I'm sure some of those eyes are for him too. But, yeah, that's really interesting. That's a lot of scouts, definitely more than the usual one or two that you would see during some key games during the season.
And I think their next home game is against Wyoming November 1st.
Yeah. Yeah, so we got a while till we'll be back at Snapdragon. They have this game here coming up against Nevada, then they have a bye, then they have Fresno State, and then they're back home.
Yeah, having that bye in between Nevada and Fresno State is huge. Getting that extra week of work, get all those bumps and bruises healed up, and all the injured guys ready to roll. Jonathan, before I let you go, you got a big weekend. Tell us about the card show.
Yeah, so tomorrow we have the SD Collectibles card show. Actually, once we get off this podcast and finish that up, I'll start getting ready, getting things packed up for that. But it's at the Handlery Hotel in Mission Valley from 11 to 4. So come on down if you like sports, even if there's some Pokemon. So there's something for everybody there. And it's in Mission Valley. So, you can always come by, swing by, and then go get a bite to eat or do some other fun stuff on your weekend, and then you still have Sunday off. So, and the rest of the day, because it's only 11 to 4. So, but yeah, it's always a good time. There will be about 35 vendor tables there. Parking's only $2, $3 to get in. So for $5, you can come in, have a good time. I'll be set up. I have all kinds of awesome cards and memorabilia. So if you're a Padre fan or a San Diego Charger fan, I'll have all that kind of stuff there for you. And it'll be a great time, as always.
That's great. Well, Jonathan, good job. And you and I will reconvene on November 10th.
Yep. Sounds good. Talk to you then.
Right.
Appreciate it.
Good job. Jonathan Olivieri doing a great job. And Jonathan and I are going to get a little time off. If you tuned in late, just want to remind everyone, we're not going anywhere. We're just going to take some time off. I've got to take care of some personal issues. Nothing. I'm going to be fine. Okay. But I need some time off, and I also got a lot of college basketball coming up. But again, we're always on call. We'll heat up this YouTube. If the Padres make some kind of move, Jonathan and I, we will be on the air to comment on it and get your comments. I love all the feedback we get from you fans more than anything else. That's why I'm doing this show. Okay, real quickly, Detroit, Seattle tonight. That can be a heck of a ball game. George Kirby going for the Mariners. Tarek Skubal going for Detroit. Game 5 tonight. The winner will take on the Toronto Blue Jays, who dispatched the New York Yankees. I'm sure they're having their organizational meetings. And then tomorrow you got Chicago going back to Milwaukee, and neither team has said who's going to pitch yet. We'll probably find out about that later today. So good night for baseball tonight and tomorrow. And then next week we'll have the ALCS and NLCS. So looking forward to that. Okay, let's get to our coach's mailbag, and then we'll get out of here and get ready for the big weekend. Let's start off. What do we got? User 3454. Will the Aztecs be playing in a bowl game this year? Well, they win 2 more games. They're going to be bowl eligible, and I would certainly think they're going to be in a bowl game. That's my goal this year. I'd like to finish in the top 3 of the conference this year. That would be just huge compared to where they were a year ago. But they've missed a bowl game each of the last 2 years. And I want to see them go to a bowl game. So 2 more wins. Get a win tomorrow night, and you need only 1 more to become eligible. I was hoping a 7-5 year. 7-5 I could live with, because that would be significant progress with a lot of new players. And you got a lot of guys coming back again next year. So, yeah, I think they're going to be going to a bowl game. Thank you very much for that. Window-ish. Do you think Preller will be aggressive this offseason with the past season ending in failure? I don't know. You know what? I think it's not up to AJ. It's up to the ownership. Do they want to give him money? That's what it's going to come down to. Do they want to give him money? Last offseason, I don't think he didn't spend much. And even when they made all the trades at the trading deadline, they didn't take on a lot of money. Somewhere in the neighborhood of about $1.5 million, $2 million. And they got some quality players in Miller and Laureano and O'Hearn and Freddie Fermin. You could talk about J.P. Sears, kind of a back end of the rotation guy. But he had a home run and really didn't take on much money. I mean, I guess the big question, who's going to be the Padres' first baseman? It's not going to be Pete Alonso. Okay, they're not going to pay Pete Alonso. I saw this morning Cody Bellinger going to more than likely opt out of his deal with the Yankees. He was making 25. He's looking for more. Bellinger's really turned into a heck of a player. Even though he won a National League MVP years ago with the Dodgers, he's a better player now. He's much more under control at the plate. I've always liked Bellinger. He can still play center. He can play left. He can play first. But I don't think the Padres are going to pay that kind of money. And the Padres are definitely not going to go after the polar bear, Pete Alonso. I think Alonso stays in New York. Who knows? Maybe with the Yankees. We'll have to wait and see on that one. But I think AJ can only be as aggressive as ownership will allow him to be. Okay, we got another one? All right, Irish lore. What can they do to get Tatis Jr. back in his head this offseason? Well, it's hard to make the guy stay in San Diego, but it'd be nice if he spent the winter in San Diego and stayed focused on baseball. But he's a 26 going on 27-year-old man. He's got to make that decision. Does he want to be a Hall of Fame player? If he does, then he needs to get down to the brass tacks and change his attitude. That's about all I can say, because he's not the same guy. He may have off-field issues. I don't know. We know he's got to write that check to Big League Advance for $3.74 million. Sounds like he's going to have to write a lot more checks to them unless he can get out of that deal that he signed when he was an 18-year-old kid where he took $2 million, and the rest of his career he's got to pay 10% of every dollar he makes. That's crazy. Unbelievable. You talk about bad decision, bad advice. Wow. Unbelievable. All right, we got anything else? I think we're done. All right, folks. Now remember, everything's going to be fine. I'm going to be back on November 10th. Jonathan's going to be back with me on November 10th, and we'll keep on cranking. But remember to keep the notifications on. And if something were to break with the Padres between now and November 10th, we will be on the air. But our regular Monday, Wednesday, Friday shows will resume on November 10th at 9 a.m. So tell a friend, and I want to thank everyone. We got over 3,500 subscribers right now, and we want to keep building. Definitely want to keep building. But I want to thank everyone, and very much appreciate you being with us day in and day out. And again, we'll rejoin you on November 10th. Have a great weekend, and talk to you real soon. Bye-bye.